just turns off. Anyway, we're probably live by now, Jeff. So
okay, all right, here we go. We are here for our Tuesday nights Deep Space Nine at 9ish. Right on time, guys. 9:05. I think we're doing okay. Season 2, episode 11, Rivals. We were talking about this. Is this our first episode of 1994, Dave?
Yes, this is the beginning. We're out of 93.
We're out of 93. We're into a
bring
new
in
year.
1994.
Was it better than 93? Probably not.
Jeff, in 1994, like this hadn't happened yet when this episode aired, but Bret Hart was going to win his second World Wrestling Federation title against Yokozuna only months later at WrestleMania 10. Just think about that.
Well, I thought about it, and I think it has nothing to do with Star Trek Deep Space Nine at 9ish. Talking about season 2, episode 11, Rivals. We're here talking about kind of two different storylines going on here. Miles O'Brien getting his butt kicked by a preppy Julian Bashir, and at squash or racquetball, whatever they're playing. And the other storyline is all about Martis Mazur, who's this listener guy who's from, I don't even know how that's a power. We'd listen.
He's Guinan species.
Oh, is he Guinan species?
Yeah.
Yes.
I did not know this. What's the species?
El-Orien.
El-Orien. Oh. Okay, I did not know that. But okay, that makes more sense now in context. But at the same time, he's not as cool as Guinan. He's kind of like a con guy. Like he's like this con artist that kind of just like is got these schemes like that you would, like a sleazy used car salesman type guy. That Guinan was like, I'm the cafeteria lady, and I have like anything you need, Picard. If you need a question about time travel, I'm your girl. Always,
We've met like 3 Elorians, right?
Only 3.
Two of them are total pieces of shit.
Yes.
What's the other one? We got
Malcolm McDowell, Soren from Star Trek Generations.
Okay, Soren. All right, yeah.
But they look like just like humans. Like they look exactly like humans. They're humans that listen, which apparently is a concept. And they're long-lived. Like we would have to assume that even this guy is several centuries old.
Maybe.
Yes.
Guinan is, right?
Guinan is, and so is Malcolm McDowell's character, Soren. So, their planet was wiped out by the Borg some time ago. So that we can't assume that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're a diverse species, that's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And it is interesting, but like my favorite part of this episode is Quark and the Martis Mazur relationship that's going on. It's a lot of fun. What did you guys kind of like? What kind of stood out for you in this episode, Dave? Like that you liked?
Well, I think that the Martis character is a fun one. I think he's a fun foil to Quark in this episode, and I think that it's interesting having another member of this El-Orien species, even though I think it's lost in the episode, that connection, unless you're really paying attention for it. You didn't pick up on it, and
I thought he was a listener species or something. I was like, what? He's a good listener? That was it. That's all I thought.
Right, like that's what Guinan's. That's what they're known for. That they're good at listening and giving advice, I guess. But anyway, but he uses that power for evil.
Went with Guinan instead of Troy.
Yeah, that's why Guinan has to do Troy's job on the Enterprise D. All right. And he uses this power though for nefarious purposes. He uses this. What if you had that talent, that ability to sort of be insightful, be good at looking at other people's problems, which is kind of, at least that's how Guinan is presented. And we're told that this is a quality of her entire species. Although, again, we're comparing this guy, and Soren, who's like a psychopath. So it's kind of hard to understand what the common thread is between all three of them.
Guinan is probably Guinan is probably a psychopath too. She just holds it back. That's my theory.
Yeah, I enjoy that. I enjoy the whole quirk, and I think that just having more of that promenade, it's like a little town, the promenade, right? You know, it's like this little western town, and I think having just a bit more fun in that, the whole thing rivals, right? And is really interesting. And it's too bad that we didn't. I don't know if we needed this character back, but Quark sort of dealing with competition and someone else on the promenade being kind of a big deal. I think that this game, this luck game or whatever the heck it is the most boring, ill-conceived thing. It's not. It's very characteristic of what Star Trek was doing with technology at the time, what they could do with their special effects. Remember that the episode of Next Gen where Riker brings that weird game back from Ryza that nearly takes over the Federation? This kind of makes me feel like that. Yeah.
Yeah, when he brought back Candy Crush.
Yeah, right. nearly ruined the Federation forever. In the process,
the disc in the cone.
Yeah,
and that's what they did.
I like this episode. I even like the games. I mean, not the games themselves, but I like the premise of changing probability and what that would do around the station. And this episode also is almost like one of those classic TNG episodes where they're not really in any danger. It's just this sort of fun puzzle to figure out. Like, nobody's really getting hurt. I mean, Kira falls down some stairs or something, but
he gets his pride wounded. He said he could have wiped the court with Bashir.
Yeah, but did you guys like the whole Bashir racquetball stuff, like with O'Brien, and like how he smoked him and then he like basically folded in like the next one, and like O'Brien was like offended. Like, did you like all that stuff? Or
I did like it because for once it didn't show Bashir as being the douchebag, but O'Brien was. Like, he was like a sore loser and he was getting angry, and it wasn't a good look on him.
Yeah, well, that scene where he walks in with Keiko and he's like, "Fuck on Bashir," and he's like, "I'll beat him. I'm out of shape. I'm still the same O'Brien." And I was like,
"I've just lost my wind."
Yeah, that's a wounded man if I've ever seen one. Right there.
Just lost my wind.
And you know, he was just so upset to be beat by Bashir. Like, he could have lost to anyone else and probably been fine. But since it was Bashir, and this is before their friendship, right? This really is kind of the start.
Well, I think we talked about that episode last year, which name escapes me right now. But remember that mission where, like, by the end of it, O'Brien's like, "Can we just never talk again? And we'll be professional, but we are not buds, right?" Yeah. And they're like, "Cool." And here we are, halfway through the second season. Basically, they still don't like each other.
No.
And they'll go on to be like the best friends ever. Like in fact, I think O'Brien and Bashir, if you talk about who are the two best friends in Star Trek, I think these two have to be considered. And in the conversation, if we ever did that as a trivial debate, that might be interesting. But they earned it. They really earned that, because if they didn't have this backstory of them being contentious, it wouldn't be as good. In the same way, I don't think that Dax and Kira feels as earned as that relationship Bashir and O'Brien does.
I think it really shows that Bashir and O'Brien are both kind of hard to get along with.
Yes,
on a personal level. So they find each other like star-crossed lovers in the holosuite.
Which member of the D Space Nine cast is the easiest to get along with? Like, as the character?
Probably Dax.
Probably Dax, yeah. Or
Quark. Who's probably going to try to, scheme you or something.
Yeah, but you know that going in, so you can prepare for it.
But Sisko's not easygoing. Odo, definitely not easygoing. No. Kira... No.
No.
It would suck to work on the station, I think.
Worf,
when he comes along.
But on Deep Space Nine, he's not really easy to get along with either. he gets in everybody's face when he when he
even
first
Odo's,
shows up.
right? So I don't I just think that it's a little bit of a rough around the edges crew, right? And O'Brien even more so, definitely more than he was on Next Gen. And Next Gen he was just happy, he was a happy transporter chief, and and they're trying to turn O'Brien into this it wasn't even like when they first brought that character into Next Gen, it wasn't like they envisioned him, I think, specifically as this enlisted everyman sort of relatable character, right? Like, he's not an officer. He didn't go to the academy. He says racist things against Cardis and whatever. And here he's being petty about losing a tennis match to a guy who was apparently a tennis star and nearly became a professional tennis player and is also genetically engineered, but we don't know that yet.
And beat a Vulcan.
Right. Yes. And a bit of whatever.
He beat a Vulcan. That's all you need to know about Dr. Julian Bashir.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's pretty awesome. I like Bashir. He's rootable. He's the type of guy.
You're turning around on Bashir because we hate him. We all hated him in the first season. All of us hated him. Or found him annoying, at least.
They needed to do an episode where they shit on O'Brien and gave Julian a good look. Because let's face it, guys, Bashir's been taking a lot of shit for a while. Every episode. Every episode, Bashir is just like there. You can see they're gonna start giving him stuff. It wasn't great in this episode. All his stuff with Dax, where he's like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill O'Brien," because was eating oatmeal or whatever, and he's like talking to Dax, and he's like, "Oh, if we keep playing," and he's like, "He wouldn't let me go. I had to call him in a medical emergency," and that whole like sequence, I'm like, all right, Bashir, you're getting there, sorta. It's not great, but I'll take it. I know you're gonna get better. That's how I feel about Bashir.
Yeah, like, I just think again, like, I don't love this episode, but it's not like the worst episode we've certainly watched this season so far. It's kind of a high point maybe of season 2 for me in some ways. We'll see how the rest of this but it's also like, I'm like, okay, but I feel like I this is interesting to me. The most value here comes from, we got an El-Aurian, which is only something that I would be excited about, maybe Kevin, and I guess the fact that O'Brien and Bashir have this back more, like they were building it, right? But on first viewing, I don't know how much this episode, if you would enjoy this episode without all that context.
Yeah, this is just sort of supposed to be a fun episode. Like, it's not supposed to be serious. And
no, like, Quark calls everybody into his bar at one point. He's like calling a medical emergency with O'Brien and like need to fix something.
In his P.T. Barnum impression on the bar.
And he's doing a whole speech. There's Jaemeel, talking about rivals here at Deep Space Nine at 9ish. Here with Jaemeel Robinson
on talking lunch break.
Talking to him on his lunch break. He's, what is your takes on this episode, Jaemeel?
This episode is not a Deep Space Nine episode. It feels like a backdoor pilot, like a lot of 90s shows and even 80s shows used to do it all the time, where it's like, let's introduce you to a bunch of wacky characters and we'll see if people like them and we might make them into a spin-off show, right? And that's what it felt like, because it seemed like it had little to do with the actual station itself. It could have been completely in a totally different location with different characters. Like, the only interesting part was the B storyline, which was Bashir and O'Brien, and everything else was just like, it's like, hey, if you like The Princess Bride, you got something to look at. And you know what? Also, I gotta say, there was some a little bit of stuff for the ladies in this episode. You got a shirtless Colin Meaney in it. You got Bashir
It is.
Alex Siddig in his tight onesie looking.
Yes, with the little
Yes.
boy's outfit he was wearing.
Yes.
Here, let's see if I can find that here. You can see a little bit of it there with that. That is quite the neckline he's got.
I
there.
find it unreal that he goes out and eats in that too after. Like, doesn't change
Yeah.
her.
He goes and eats some oatmeal with Dax wearing his squash outfit.
It's the only shot I have of it right there. But sorry.
You know why Dax never hooked up with him. This is one of the reasons why she's seen him in this. She's like, right? Why could I have that? There's
Yeah,
just
like
where's the traction? Right?
She had to
Where's-
die to get over it. To be fair, but
she's like, what's your problem with O'Brien? What's your boyfriend? You know, like that's what.
Oh my gosh! You know what? I love how O'Brien has his sequence of events where he's like getting ready for the match, and he's like telling him like drop shot, corner side, and he's like shirtless talking to the mirror, and then Keiko gives him a shirt and he puts it on, and then he's like saying something else. She gives him his wristbands, which are like vital for racquetball. Oh, sorry, whatever they call it. Like, what is he wearing? Is he like? Did he go to Yale? What's with that jersey?
oh, we lost him.
Oh,
He'll be back. I have a question for him when he comes back. What I want to know. Do you think that Colm Meaney, big movie star of the early '90s, right?
Mhm.
Usually playing a
Yeah.
villain, where the women crying out to Hollywood, "We need a shirtless Colm Meaney in this episode. We need to see if we can turn up his sex appeal."
His
I
agent
doubt it.
thought so.
Must be.
His agent probably pushed for it. Cole Meany was like, fine.
There he goes.
why do I have to take my shirt off in the episode where I'm an old man?
He was in good shape.
Do you think that the women were crying out in the '90s for a shirtless Colm Meaney, Jaemeel?
I think ladies did like it.
Yeah. Big movie
Yeah.
star. The star of Under Siege and Con Air, Colm Meaney.
Both.
He's in both. Yeah, that's right.
Played a bit part in Die Hard 2.
Yeah.
There's no small parts, only small people.
That's right. Exactly. Jaemeel, question. Do you understand the El Orient connection of Martis?
Yes, we saw previously another being who was from a race of listeners, if you will, Guinan.
Yes. Guinan. And we were bringing this up at the top of the show. Okay, we've met 3 El Orients, major characters from this species, the species that was ravaged by the Borg centuries ago, or at least a century ago, before this point. And it's Guinan, as to who you've alluded to. This guy who we meet in this episode, Martis, he's kind of a con artist. And then there was Soren, the guy who killed Captain Kirk, ultimately. So what do these three have anything in common, these 3 characters? Like, what does it mean to be from a race of listeners? What does that actually mean? And is it well conceived or executed? I know that's a lot of questions, but to you.
I felt that they should have better explained. I believe that there's latent empathic abilities that they have, and that's why they're able to be such great listeners. But they kind of just never committed to that kind of concept.
Yeah, I don't understand how they're different than betazoids or other species that are.
They're special, Dave. That's what you need to know. Okay.
I don't really understand how they're any different from humans.
Other than they live a long time and they're from another planet, and maybe that's all there is to it. But it's
Yeah, and they're special, and that's what they are. Yeah, there's.
I'm Guinan. I 10 bar and I listen. What the fuck does that mean?
Our planet was destroyed. I know everything about the universe when something weird comes up.
Right.
As they grow up, they get a book of vague riddles, and that's basically what they use to I'm going to give you advice, but it might not mean anything until you put meaning to it.
Well, we know that the Elorians were visiting Earth as early as the 19th century because we see Whoopi Goldberg-Guinan dealing with Samuel Clemens, aka Mark Twain, in the 19th century. So her species traveled to Earth before we were going to space at all. Which is, so I think that we're seeing in Star Trek Discovery and some of these other shows right now that they're building upon, like we're seeing that they're building upon the Trill, and now so we're gonna get way more maybe context in the future. I would like to see them explore these Elorians more. I think that there's something to it, but I think we need to fill in more of the blanks.
Is this recency bias just because we kind of see this episode and you're like, I would like to see it apply in modern times or more on it? Because it just seemed kind of out of the blue to go like, you know what? Out of all the characters and all the concepts through all of like 798 episodes of Star Trek, I want to know about the Eldorians, right? That just seems kind of like out there, really.
Well, I think why did they expand upon them in the first place? And I think it just had to do with the popularity of Whoopi Goldberg in this role, right?
Okay,
and they're like,
yes, I will skip ahead, not to interrupt, sorry, but I was going to do it in fun facts with Jeff, but this episode was meant to have Whoopi Goldberg in this episode, but she couldn't do it due to
Sister Act 2. Was it Sister
Act 2?
It was movie work, so it most likely was Sister Act 2.
Or Sister Act 1? Wait,
Or
what year
Sister
Sister
Act-
Act 1? But
Okay, she wasn't back in the habit yet. Okay.
wait, she might have been. Sister Act 1 is 1992, so Sister Act 2 back in the habit. Oh, I bet you she was. This was being filmed, right? Yep, that's it. It was back in the habit, took her away.
Jeez.
I think she got the bigger paycheck on Sister Act 2, though. So
She actually did. She would have. That movie did pretty big business.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doubled its budget at the box office. Sister Act 2 did?
Yes. Dude, they're talking about making a Sister Act 3.
Right. And Sister Act 2 came out December 10th, 1993, mere weeks before this episode aired. Mere weeks. I never knew there was going to be such a connection here to Sister Act or Sister Act 2 for that matter.
Jaemeel called it. It was Sister Act 2.
I had a feeling it was like what would it would have been the Tyrannosaurus Rex movie. The terrible movie.
Jurassic Park?
No. No, Whoopi Goldberg made a terrible like animatronic Tyrannosaurus Rex movie. It's horrible.
Around this time she did?
Around any time, it doesn't matter. Right?
Okay.
It's horrid.
It's so bad you just wanted to mention it.
Well, when you're making decisions, I'm kind of thinking, especially how this episode is. It's like, okay, she decided not to do this episode to do a movie. So it's like, was it a good movie or was it a terrible movie that she did? And those were the two ends of the spectrum. It wasn't Ghost, right? Right. So it was either Sister Act 2 or that Tyrannosaurus Rex movie.
I will admit, I'm a big fan of Sister Act 1. I've never seen Sister Act 2, but have you seen it, Jaemeel?
Dave, I hate to break this to you, but I am a person of, like my pigment.
I see that. I see that. Yes.
I have seen Sister Act 2.
Okay. And question is Sister Act 2 a worse movie or is this a worse Deep Space Nine episode?
No, Sister Act 2 is a much better movie than this episode.
Okay. She made the right choice on another level. So
she did.
All right, Whoopi. Way to go.
I quote Sister Act 2 with my family.
Yeah.
What are the feelings on the whole gambling device? Like the old man that's sleeping, and then he wakes up and then he has the thing and he finally wins, and then I thought he was going to take it and become rich, but no, he was like, no, it's going to be a scheme.
This guy?
Yeah, this guy. Yeah, this old man guy.
The con artist is a dummy. Because you have this person who says that his life was basically wrecked by this machine, and his success that he gets that gives him relief is death. I'm gonna take this device and I'm gonna just roll with it. It's like, come on.
Was that good?
I'm going to make it bigger and make several of them.
Was that good listening by Martis? Was he listening to that guy very well?
I don't
Erase
think
the
he literally said to Martis. Martis said to him, he goes, "I'm not listening." He literally said that in the episode.
I thought, what is? Yeah, this makes no sense. Erase the listeners isn't listening.
Yeah, he
Their whole
said it
thing.
to him.
And in
That
that
was
same
hilarious.
sing-songy way. I'm not listening.
I'm not listening.
Listening.
Yeah, the actor that played this guy was really he was going all out.
Chris Sanderson.
Wait, is this Sarandon? Like Susan Sarandon?
Yes. Yes.
Wait, this is the ex-husband of Susan Sarandon and the
Yes.
famous actress.
Yes. Prince Humpeldick from Princess Bride, Jack Skeleton from The Nightmare Before Christmas. It's the same dude.
So she kept the Sarandon name forever after that. Okay, so
It's a good name.
It's a good name. Yeah, she did more with it than he ever did.
Yeah.
Look, hey, if I marry a Kennedy, you're gonna call me Jaemeel Kennedy for the rest of the year. It's like from the Kennedy, like John F. Kennedy. I'm like, yes, from Camelot.
There you go. Yeah, woo, Susan Sarandon's ex. There we go. Yeah, he was whatever. Like he was not that good.
No, he worked with the terrible script that he had. I think he was actually fantastic with what he had. Like with the chicken scratch, like I wouldn't be surprised if like the R's in the script were backwards. It seemed like such a poor script, right? Like even like Quark just seemed like a minor character in this bar association episode, right? It just seems so backwards.
Yeah, this is a Joe Manosky teleplay. At least it's not his story, but
Michael Piller wrote it.
Michael Piller wrote the story, yeah, but the actual script was Joe Manosky, and well, he's wrote a lot of like episodes with Guinan in it. Okay, a ton of Voyager episodes. Okay, anyway,
It's all making sense.
it's all making sense.
It's all coming back to me.
Did the episodes in Voyager involve the holodeck and maybe an Irish town by chance?
I think they wrote. Yeah, he did. He did a lot of the two-parters. He did a lot of like the Killing Game. He did Equinox. He did Unimatrix Zero in Deep Space Nine. Future's End Part 1 and 2. Scorpion Part 1 and 2. He seems like he was Brandon Brega's like go-to guy whenever they had to do like in Voyager, they had to do like a two-parter. And then in Deep Space Nine, he didn't write that much in Deep Space Nine, really. He wrote this.
Trust him.
He wrote Dramatis Personae from last season, which was you remember that one?
Yes, I remember that one.
Where Odo didn't have time for jokes, he said. And then Distant Voices, which is coming up next season. Or that's the one where Bashir's like in his own head and he's getting older and whatever because the alien did the thing. Yeah, this guy, I don't know if I like this guy.
That episode. I like that one.
You like that one? And
Yeah, I
Time's
do.
Orphan, which is about Molly O'Brien turning into an older lady.
I like that episode.
Yeah, that's pretty good too.
And Time's Arrow, which was the whole thing I talked about earlier, which was where they go back to the 19th century, meet Mark Twain, and Guinan's there. So this guy has obviously got an affinity for the El-Orients.
So Discovery is gonna hook him up. That's what you'd wish.
Hey, and you're right. Yes, to answer your question earlier, yes, is this recency bias? Absolutely. I just saw what they did on Discovery last week, so
I disagree, Dave. I don't think it is recency bias. I think every time there is a species of any sort, you always say, I want to know more about these people. You always say it.
always do. Yeah.
Every species.
I just want to take a moment here to plug a Live Long podcast. Proud to present Star Trek Discovery podcast on Thursday. I'm not going to watch it. Kevin's not going to watch it because we don't watch that show. But anyone else that watches that show, head on over Thursday.
You guys might like it. Okay,
Yeah.
like our panel on this past Thursday was ecstatic about how that episode went. I was a little bit more reserved about this last one, but the rest
I jumped on the pod because I was so excited to discuss it.
It's true. Like it was, we were moved.
Yeah.
Good for you.
Like honestly, and I'll tell you, I can't really say it from this episode, but there's like a level you know what, you can watch it from this episode when you're seeing the characters like they're themselves, and it seems like they're able to take a breath. Like Miles is able to like detail his frustrations with his situation, and you have Keiko, and it seems like, hey, look, this looks like actual people interacting, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're watching Discovery sometimes, earlier seasons, it seems like it's like, oh, I'm angry at you. Everything is a tense moment with everyone in every single situation. This episode, it seems like all the characters just was able to take a deep breath and like have moments, like actual moments where like they're interacting and talking to each other like rational, like actual people. Right?
Yeah, I agree. Like from the moment like where like Kira's banging the computer because like the thing like erased her whole work, or like when my favorite moment in the episode is when Quark is like chasing Cisco down,
Yeah.
and they go into the elevator, and then like he's still arguing. You can hear him in the elevator arguing with Cisco.
It's like
and
it's like
yeah,
Quark's best line is like, hey, you, I had a, was it bribing the Cardassians doesn't mean you have sole exclusivity to having a bar. And it's like, well, you begged me to stay here. It's like, I didn't beg, I blackmailed you. And he just says it so casually. It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, it was Cisco. Yeah, he's like, I never begged you. I blackmailed you. I was quite proud of
One of
it.
my favorite lines of his in the entire series. When he's just so casually, yeah, I blackmailed you. What are you gonna do about it?
That's the Hawk coming out.
Picard never would have done that.
That's how it's full Hawk.
He's not. Where's the button?
I'm getting it. I
Okay.
friggin' I trumped myself there.
You set yourself up for that, man.
I know it.
I'm not Picard.
I'm a Hawk.
I'm a man named Hawk.
Sorry, I don't have an interesting background today. It's like a bright room.
No word. Yeah, you're in the break room.
I know I'm in a conference room right now.
Oh, that's room. Okay.
We're having a conference.
Well,
Is there somebody outside? Are they going?
Are you finished?
I haven't even begun.
That's what you want to say. Just play that.
I'm keeping track of my lunch half an hour.
Yeah.
Still-
Well, we need to make sure we get your episode rating before you have to drop off. So if your time is winding down, make sure to let us know. Okay. Well, what else is there to talk about in this episode in terms of plot? Like,
well, what did you think about the character of Martis? What was it? Well, Kevin, did you think he was interesting? Do you think they should have brought him back?
No, once was enough. But I don't hate him. I don't think he needed to ever come back. What reason would he have to come back?
He could have been like the Deep Space Nine Q.
Or Mud.
Oh God, no.
I think he would have been more like a Harry Mudd. Is maybe what they saw him as.
Oh, maybe. Yeah, he would have been okay one more episode, maybe. Maybe. With a better story.
Yeah.
Chances are, though.
I think they just had better characters. I think they were trying out different things in the second season, different guest stars, clearly. We had Frank Langella as a guest star this season. Now we get Chris Sarandon, who I guess is famous, de facto through Susan Sarandon.
What's her name? What's her name from Hill Street Blues and from Cop Rock? She was also in this episode.
And obviously like Andrew Robinson, who, by the way, I never knew was in Hellraiser. I was watching Hellraiser for Halloween, and Andrew Robinson pops up. Garrick.
Is he in this episode?
No, but I was saying that they were trying. I think they were trying out. They were constantly kind of rotating in different guest stars. We saw that in certain ones, like they were recurring, like Rom. They were changing and working with. I think that as a writing staff, they were very much trying different things in the second season, throwing things at the wall, seeing what stuck. And some of it works and some of it doesn't.
Yes. But this episode rivals What did you guys kind of like make out of it? What do you take away from this episode? Do you think about the Bashir O'Brien, or do you think about the Elorian guy who's the rival with Quark? Do you think about the Quark stuff?
I'm going to use a combination of the words that you just said. The allure of the Bashir and Miles plot, which is if you don't aren't on the interwebs as much. Plot means the eye candy, and the eye candy for the ladies. You had some hairy chest Miles O'Brien. He took his shirt off. He put his shirt on. Like this seems like a very conscious effort to really boost the sex appeal. Maybe they were trying to get Colin Meaney on People's 100 Beautiful People issue, and they didn't really have any success until Harry Kim broke that barrier. But who knows? That's the only thing. Like looking back, I'm gonna say this is the episode for the ladies.
This is for the ladies with that Chris Sarandon smile.
Yeah, like people love the Sarandon.
Yeah, like here I got it here. Like that. Look at where not him. Yeah, there you go. Wow, what a face.
This just in, Cole Meany rated 78 as top sexiest man 1994 because of this shirtless scene.
Did he actually?
No, I made it up.
Oh, okay.
But it would have been fun.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome if that was the end result. Like he had a contractual obligation.
I think we get 2 more rules of acquisition out of this episode, don't we?
74.
Which up? Do you have the fun facts?
I do have some fun facts.
It's 74, and which no,
One
47.
one is like you have your dick.
than you.
No, yeah, that's one. That's 74, and then there's another one that says a man with a dignity and a bag is just a man with a bag.
It says dignity and an empty sack is worth the sack.
Is worth the sack, sir.
Never trust a man wearing a better suit than your own.
That's number 74, right?
47.
47.
Close.
I'm a terrible Ferengi.
Okay, I got some fun facts for all you cool cats and kittens out there.
Cool cats and kittens.
Okay.
Okay, Carol.
Michael Piller conceived Marcus Mazur to be the wayward son of Guinan. Guinan herself was to appear in the episode, but Whoopi Goldberg was unavailable.
Doing Sister Act 2, Back in the Habit?
They were in heaven.
All the references to Guinan were removed, and only Marcus' status as an Elorian was retained.
I'm kind of glad they didn't ruin Guinan by giving her a son like that.
Yeah, well, they hadn't actually even identified Guinan as a member of the Elorian species, but until Generations, which came out at the end of 1994.
Right.
So maybe this was supposed to be like a tie-in, and then they're like, yeah, let's just like, there's no need to trample on Generations with this.
Yeah, we don't want to give it away. Okay. The racquetball court was built on the Holosuite set. Due to the cost of putting up and taking down the set, it was decided not to reuse the sport.
Yeah, it's better for them playing darts.
Yeah.
This racquetball's annoying.
Racquetball was not going to cut it.
They're like, this is too much of a pain in the ass to build the racquetball set. We're not doing it anymore.
Plus the special effects of Colin Meaney's sweatshirts.
Too much.
But also, O'Brien apparently sucks at it.
Yeah. Well, or Bashir's like a pro. Michael Piller originally envisioned the character of Marcus becoming a recurring one, but later decided against it.
He's no Harry Mudd, he said. That's not. We thought he could be our Harry Mudd.
This episode references the rules of acquisition number 47. Never trust a man wearing a better suit than your own. And number 109, dignity and an empty sack is worth the sack.
Interesting.
It took 6 hours to shoot all of the racquetball scenes. The futuristic design of the court with its beveled walls caused the ball to bounce back at unpredictable angles.
Who would have thought?
In an interview, Alexander Siddig said, "We were chasing these balls around like nutters until they finally just staged us so we could look like we were just shooting the ball where it wanted to go." End quote.
So they built a set, didn't really think through how they're going to use the set, and then were surprised by it doing not what they're expecting to do. And then the solution was
random angles everywhere, and then you're surprised that the ball bounces erratically.
Yeah. There's a reason why like racquetball courts are flat walls.
Lord.
Okay. Whoopi Goldberg was to have played Guinan, her recurring role from Star Trek The Next Generation, but she was unavailable due to her movie work. She appeared in Star Trek Universe and Star Trek Generations, which explains that Guinan is an Elorian. She might have been working on Generations at this time as well, so that could have been happening.
Well, they would have been shooting Generations about 2 months after this, because I know they shot Generations around the same time they shot the finale for Next Generation. All Good Things. They were shot almost at the exact same day or weeks, right? So
They should have flipped. Had All Good Things have the movie budget and Generations the TV budget, in my opinion.
well, what they said, so like and All Good Things and Generations were both written by Brandon Braga and Ronald D. Moore. And they said that it was so weird that the TV finale and that story ended up being such a better story than Generations, even though that was the one that was supposed to be the awesome movie and was supposed to top it, and it didn't. And it's kind of, I don't know what lesson you take from that. It really, is it just better to have a good story, or is it?
You could understand the set pieces that they had in Generations, right? There were specific set pieces that were supposed to wow people, but like that's not what I'm there for in terms of Star Trek, right?
Well, I think everyone was there for Kirk and Picard together, right? Like that was
okay, I guess.
a little bit, getting those two together, and I guess getting the next gen crew into the movies. I think overall,
I was there for Data swearing.
yeah. Oh shit.
Yep.
Right.
That was fun. That was a big laugh.
A pack lead is seen as a background character in Quark's bar. Pack leads were first seen in Star Trek The Next Generation Samaritan Snare,
But
in
they
which they kidnap Geordi so he can fix things for them.
He's smart.
Yeah. Can you make this go?
He makes this go.
Just imagine if they had the good luck technology.
But they came back in Star Trek Lower Decks, Jeff.
Okay. Originally, there were 3 designs for the probability machine. The handheld device, which was originally designed larger than its appearance in the final episode. The larger device created by Martis, and a 4-person gambling orb for the casino. Ultimately, only the first 2 designs, with some elements from the third, were incorporated into the final production.
What is the game? You touch it and a light goes up?
Yeah,
That's it?
And it says you win or lose. That's the game.
You flip a coin. Congratulations.
This is scientific futuristic technology, man. Like this is you push a button, it goes or it goes and that's it.
Okay, so this one, I don't know if you guys caught this one, but Martis orders a Prosecco at Quark's bar, and then Quark pours him a cloudy pinkish liquid in almost a small bulbous glass. Prosecco is an Italian sparkling wine similar to champagne. It's clear and bubbly with a light golden hue. As such, either Prosecco is also the name of an Eloria Martis species drink, or some of the other alien world, and Quark unexpectedly knows which one Martis is ordering.
Or Quark was like, "I'm giving you a free drink. You're gonna take this and just like it. It's the cheap stuff."
That's what
I did notice when Quark pours drinks, he does not come anywhere near to filling the glass, and I feel like that's on brand. That's
That's a subtle thing. You like when you go back and rewatch, you notice. You're like, this is good.
Yeah, and he says, "Oh, Quark got his drink order wrong." Okay. Oddly, Club Martis appears to be located where the Bajoran temple normally is on the promenade. The front of the temple had been converted to be the storefront seen in DS9's Sanctuary. The temple was not restored until 3 episodes later in Whispers.
Yeah, so that was just so that they could have his rival, the Quark Club Martis, right across from his bar. That was the only reason to do that. But they clearly tore down the Bajoran temple, which is sacrilegious and an affront to the Bajoran people. How did they stand for this?
Cal Wynn was busy.
Kai Wynn was
busy. Vedic Wynn. Spoilers.
The thing I don't always get about the promenade, Jeff, and group here is that everything is bunched together. Like Quark's, the infirmary, the entrance to the temple, the replimat, and then there's a whole bunch of nothing on the other side of the promenade, like where
it's just benches for Morn to sleep on.
Yeah, benches for Morn to sleep on, like, and shops that don't seem like.
We call that downtown Toronto.
Yeah, I guess it's location. You know.
Yeah.
Okay. Dax reassures Dr. Bashir that Chief O'Brien can't be a day over 38. Cole Meany, who plays O'Brien, was 40 years old at the time of filming.
A firm 40-year-old.
Yeah, okay. I'm 37. This guy looks way older. Right?
I don't know. I've seen him with his shirt off.
Well, hold on. No, I'm not going to do that. I can't compete with you, Cole Meany. You're much younger and better looking. In 1994, at least.
One of the ingredients in Quark's sedative drink is dilithium flavor extract, ounce 435, as shown on Bashir's computer screen. This is one of the many examples of in-jokes that have been added by the show's art department throughout the series.
So what would have happened if you drank that during the burn?
That's what I was just thinking. What happens during the burn? Kevin?
Not good.
No idea.
Yeah. It's because you don't watch Star Trek Discovery.
That's right. And I'm proud of it.
Remember, Star Trek Discovery over on Live Long and Podcast Thursday nights. I won't be watching, but hopefully you will be.
It's great cross promotion where half our panel tries to convince you to watch that, and the other guy tries to tell you not to. So
I think it's fun. I think it's a good joke.
Mm-hmm. It's hilarious. It's good.
Okay, that's it for fun facts.
All right. Let's get into our episode ratings. All right. So this is called Rivals. Kevin, do you want to go first?
Sure. I'll go right in the middle at 5.
5. Okay. Ashley, did she give you a rating or
no?
Okay.
I would like to hear what Ashley thought about this episode.
Do you know, Kevin, if she's ever?
I have no idea.
Okay. All right. Well, Jaemeel, then we're going to need a numeric for you. Was this better or worse than Sanctuary?
3.5.
This was worse than Sanctuary for you.
Yeah.
Okay, so you and Kevin flipped here. Kevin gave last week a 3 and gave this week a 5, and you gave last week a 5. Well, you gave this a 3.5. So
I was confused by last episode by some of the choices they made, right? And that was like, for the most part, I think they at least tried some interesting stuff. This was just beyond lazy. This is ridiculous.
All right, let's see what Jeff will vote.
Well, I think I'm going to give it a 3.5 as well.
Okay. I'm going to give it a 7. I think you're all being a little harsh. But it's so not that helped the average out that much. So this is averaging at a 4.8. So it is officially worse than Sanctuary. Yeah, not terrific. This has a 6.6 on IMDb, but nothing goes lower than 6 on IMDb. Anyway, so take that for what it is. Next week we're doing the alternate, which I don't remember. Any information on the alternate as we look ahead?
Nope.
The alternate is, here's the premise: the Bajoran scientist who used to be Odo's teacher arrives with evidence of others of Odo's kinds. Oh yeah. This is where his dad shows up.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I think we actually are going to like this episode because I think René Auberjonois tears up the scenery big time in this episode.
Right, I'm excited. It's an Odo episode over here on
Is
Deep
this the
Space
one where
Nine
he
and
finds-
Nine-ish. Sorry, go ahead.
Is this the one where he finds the changeling?
No, that's
No.
later.
Okay.
That's later in the. That's after he gets like turned into a solid,
Oh right, of course.
right?
Of course, they would have to be.
So, right, and it was trying to like as they were trying to like expand on some of these characters' backstories, like bringing him in made sense, and the fact that he said they're like, "Why do you wear your hair back like that, Odo?" And he's like, "Well, the scientist who raised me, or whatever, that's how he did his hair, so I just did that." So some interesting like things. They do a lot to fill in Odo's backstory. Like they had the one with him and Kira from 5 years ago, and whatever. And then there's some of these characters that we never learn much about. Like, how much do we really know about, I don't know, Geordie LaForge, like comparatively?
We know about his hologram, his holosuite ideals.
Hey,
Right.
I didn't get laid. That's
we
what we know about Jordan.
we know one thing about Jordy, that he's got a coolant leak in the warp core. We gotta get everybody out. We gotta get everybody out now.
Yeah.
Go.
When you
Right.
touch the panels, you're actually touching me.
What always amazes me that in a show that is character driven, especially these shows like Next Gen, Deep Space Nine, Voyager specifically, these are character driven episodes. Most of them, this is a Worf episode or whatever, etc., etc. And some of these characters we really fill in their stories. We get to know who they are, what they're about, whatever. And some of them, I feel like we barely ever truly get to know anything about these people. Like we see them like other than being good at their jobs or saving the day, but like their backstories, not as much.
Like, how much of Dr. Crusher do you actually know?
I know she grew up. Her grandmother lived on that Scotland planet.
I know she fucks ghosts.
Right? She has come from a long line of
More
ghost
than one
hunters.
time.
Yeah. There's like Riker's from Alaska, and he has a bad relationship with his dad. And I guess his dad dated Pulaski or something. I don't know. And Kirk's
You
got a
more
brother.
of a backstory about his dad than him.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
The question is, like, are we better served by having more backstory and connections to these characters or not? And I guess it depends, right? Like, some of it's good and some of it's bad. But
There's some characters they have earmarked as being like mysterious or like something that you'll get a revelation about them. Like you get a lot about Cisco throughout the time as we go forward, because he's like a driving force of a lot of questions and a lot of development for other people that bounce off of him. Not much people are bouncing off of Geordie LaForge, right?
yeah, as an example, Troy even less so, right? Like
She likes chocolate. Like that's all we need to know.
yeah,
I like chocolate.
yeah.
She likes chocolate and Valium, apparently.
She is a psychiatrist.
Well, I think that's all we got here tonight on for Deep Space Nine at 9-ish. Anything else anybody wants to say before we head off? Until next week.
Jeff, we got some other stuff here on Live Long and Podcast we may want to mention.
Do you want to do what do we got coming up this week, Dave, on Live Long and Podcast?
Well, thanks for asking, Jeff. Tomorrow night, we're going to be doing our original series weekly watch, and tomorrow's episode of Star Trek: The Original Series is called "Wolf in the Fold," which is where Scotty gets accused of murder. Like it was actually a Halloween episode back in 1967, and Adam Woodward messaged me the other night to say this episode is bananas. Like this is crazy.
Jack the Ripper episode.
It's a Jack the Ripper episode, yeah. And it's Remembrance Day tomorrow, and James Doohan being a veteran of of Canada in World War II, I think it's a fitting one that to kind of cover. So I'm looking forward to that. Thursday night we're going to be doing Star Trek Discovery, which Jeff and Kevin definitely will not be watching, but Jaemeel and I will be. And we will be covering the sixth episode of this third season. No, I'm sorry. It's the fifth episode we're doing. It's the fifth episode this week. As we head into that will be the halfway mark of this third season, and it's been fun so far. Like it's really been a good ride. We'll see if they can stick the landing. I was feeling pretty good about Picard, and sort of at this point in Picard, I started to go. I don't know. Anyway, so we'll see. But so far, so good. Worth checking out, and some interesting things. And then we will be doing Star Trek Radio Theater. This is Saturday night this week, I believe.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we're doing an episode of Star Trek Voyager called Memorial, which is not the lightest episode or subject matter, but I think it's going to be an interesting one for us to do. This deals with PTSD. This deals with a lot of different things. So it's going to be interesting. I haven't talked to you guys. Kevin, Jeff, who are part of this cast. Are you guys excited?
I'm playing Harry Kim.
Yeah.
Okay.
You don't know this yet? You haven't even looked at this yet?
I saw I was playing Harry Kim, but I mean, I thought I would act surprised.
Okay. And Kevin, you're playing really bugged out Tom Paris, right? Like he's all like, get away from me, B'Elanna.
What is on my hands?
What did I do with these hands?
Tom Paris on meth. Got it.
Jaemeel, do you remember this episode of Voyager?
I, for the most part, never remember Voyager episodes.
I don't remember it.
I did not remember. I vaguely remembered. It's actually better now, I think, than it was back in 2000 when this first aired. So check that out on Friday night. Saturday.
But you know what? Some of the great parts of Star Trek Radio Theater is, getting that you're watching the episode or listening to the episode and it just kicks in. You're like, oh, it's this episode, right? So that's part of the fun of it.
That's probably not going to happen for you unless you're a diehard Voyager fan. But fun fact, this episode of Voyager has the first appearance of hockey in all of Star Trek.
Well, that's a lot of fun, Dave. I want to thank Dave Mader, Jaemeel Robinson, and Kevin Millard for joining us for Deep Space Nine and Nine-ish here to talk about Season 2, Episode 11, Rivals, first episode of 94. We'll see you next week.
Yeah.
Talk about the alternate. Yeah.
All right.
That's it.
Good night.